Shall we start this thing?
Yes.
And hello everyone. Guten Abend. Yeah.
In English, play.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Center.
All right, I'm here to tell you a little story about Satoshi Nakamoto and a guy called J. Robert Oppenheimer. There was a movie recently made about Oppenheimer, and I'm going to try to compare the two characters and what the similarities and differences are. So, J. Robert Oppenheimer and Satoshi Nakamoto were both historical figures who figured out stuff about the nature of reality, and then like truths about reality which allowed them to harness the power of physics to change human incentive structures. So let's compare these inventions. Oppenheimer, the latest movie by legendary filmmaker Christopher Nolan over here, starring Cillian Murphy over there. It's what you'd expect it to be. It's a mostly historically accurate, brilliantly acted, and somewhat overly convoluted epic movie with a great score and some fantastic acting. The film is about the life and adventures of J. Robert Oppenheimer, who is a brilliant physicist who receives somewhere between a shitload and a fuck ton of dollars from the good people of the US government to build a little town in a desert called Los Alamos to conduct a little science experiment there with his friends. The experiment consists of constructing an atomic bomb to blow up some innocent people before the evil Nazis of Germany get to do it first. These are the evil Nazis of Germany. Maybe some of them are your ancestors and maybe not. The thing is that whatever country wins the latest world war gets the privilege of running the world's master money printer, making everyone else on Earth pay for their shit. In other words, world wars are the consensus mechanism of the fiat monetary system. So this is how we come to consensus in the fiat monetary system, by blowing each other up and see who does it, who's best at that particular game. Oppenheimer reasons that by constructing the biggest, baddest bomb ever, he would contribute to world peace. Like this might sound oxymoronic, but he reasons to himself, maybe because of this shit ton of dollars that he got. I don't know his personal reasons, but he rationalizes the whole ordeal by saying that the whole world would be in a sort of Mexican standoff. This is a Mexican standoff when you point guns at each other, so no one dares to do anything any longer. So he figures if he builds this a really, really, really awful bomb, no one would ever wage war against anyone ever again, especially not the US. So the world will be in a perpetual Mexican standoff. And a Mexican standoff is not to be confused with a Hexican jerk-off, which is another problematic incentive structure by a single entity, which I won't discuss further here. When the bomb is finally tested and ready for shipping, a bunch of people with medals on their jackets, such as this fine gentleman over here with the mustache, they decide to not show the devastating power of the bomb by blowing up some military target, but to blow up two mid-sized Japanese cities instead. At this point, the Nazis, this is according to the movie, but I think it's somewhat historically accurate, that the Nazis had already lost the war. But, I mean, the US had been at war with Japan for a long time now, and they deserve to be blown up just as much as anybody, so why not drop the bomb there? The bomb dropped on Hiroshima, called Little Boy, had an estimated energy release equivalent. I need to read this from the screen because this is hard to remember. equivalent to 15 kilotons of TNT, or roughly 63 terajoules. The bomb dropped on Nagasaki, known as the Fat Man, had an estimated energy release equivalent to about 20 kilotons of TNT, which is about 84 terajoules of energy. These two bombs alone killed around 210,000 people. Oppenheimer thought of himself as politically neutral, but unfortunately for the good people of the US government, he had some friends that were big fans of Karl Marx, and during the construction of the test bomb in Los Alamos, one of these friends stole some bomb blueprints and gave them to the not-so-good people of the Kremlin, depicted here. Bummer. So despite all efforts from the good people of the US government to keep the bomb a secret, their worst enemy got their hands on it anyway. Information wants to be free. Because of this, Bobby Oppenheimer got all his credentials revoked, as he apparently couldn't be trusted. So, you know, curate to your friends, as Michael Saylor says. The Mexican standoff that Oppenheimer had envisioned finally became a reality when the Soviets blew up the Tsar Bomba, which is the largest nuclear bomb ever constructed. This is the explosion here. October 30th, 1961. This was a test blowing, is that a word? Test kaboom? In the Novaya Zemlya archipelago in the Arctic Ocean. The bomb had an estimated yield of about 50 megatons. Some say up to 58 megatons, but 50 megatons, if we count low. This is still the most powerful human-made explosion in history, and that's the equivalent of about 2,090 terajoules. Begun, the Cold War now had. I should say that in a Yoda voice, I forgot. Begun, the Cold War now had. So now fast forward to 2009. You all recognize this little thing here. Chancellor on brink for second breakfast for banks. The Cold War is over, and the US is printing dollars like mad. The world is relatively peaceful, but some cracks in its fraudulent monetary system are starting to show. The risk of economic depression after the 2008 financial crisis, if you remember that, has been pushed into the future as both the Democrats, the good people of the Democratic Party and the good people of the Republican Party of the US have decided to collaborate, and they decided that printing more dollars is the apparent cure-all for all economic diseases. So in this case, it was Bush and Obama that decided together to just keep the printer running, which is not really kicking the can down the road, but more of like rolling the snowball further down the hill so that the next generation gets to take the big crash whenever it comes. A shadowy cypherpunk called Satoshi Nakamoto highlights this problem by releasing a white paper and bootstrapping the Bitcoin network, inscribing the Genesis block with this headline from a newspaper here, from the Times: Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. So you can suspect that Satoshi didn't like the way the central banks solved this problem, or quote unquote tried to solve this problem. Nakamoto's invention introduced a new consensus mechanism to the world called proof of work. And this mechanism makes it more expensive to try to cheat the system than to follow the rules, than playing by the rules, which allows for a new monetary system which no one can tamper with, making world wars somewhat obsolete because we have a better consensus system for whoever gets to, mine Bitcoin instead of running a money printer. So if you compare this consensus mechanism to the fiat system, this is a consensus mechanism that does not require bombs at all. When you cannot know how much another person owns, and you can't very easily take it by force, because if you shoot someone and they have their bitcoins in their head, or the secret that unlocks the bitcoin in their heads, you get nothing. So shooting people makes little sense, bombing people makes even less sense. If you bomb a country with a lot of bitcoiners in it, the bitcoins disappear. If you trade with them, it's easier to get a part of whatever their wealth is. And nowadays, many fear-mongering conformist midwits criticize this new consensus mechanism for consuming too much energy, also known as the energy FUD. Still, in doing so, they fail to realize the energy use of the fiat system's consensus mechanism. So the fiat system is funded by taxes and inflation, and that's extremely wasteful. The Bitcoin network has displaced around 1,800 terajoules of energy so far. All this energy has gone into securing the network, allowing a global free market sound money economy to exist. An economy where all transactions are voluntary and consensual, without any leakage into the hands of greedy third-party parasitic institutions. This is less energy than the Tsar Bomba alone released. Think about that for a while. Good thing to say to people when they attack Bitcoin's energy use. The energy wasted on the fiat monetary system and the resource misallocation that comes with it far exceeds what Bitcoin allegedly wastes. It takes a specific kind of ignorance to criticize the solution without first understanding the fucking problem. The kind of ignorance that only decades of exposure to government propaganda can instill in people. So we go to school for at least 12 years, and we watch this shit can over here, and the talking heads on it say stuff to us so that we believe that we need bombs to agree with one another. Now imagine what Robert Oppenheimer could have created if he had operated under a sound money standard instead. He's still a genius guy. If world peace is the goal, the worst thing a person can do is work for a fucking government. Governments are responsible for the worst crimes against humanity that have ever been committed. There's no mass murderer as a government. Like if you look at history, it's all the worst crimes are committed by governments. So only by refusing to obey their commands shall we ever achieve world peace. Yes, this is stuff that happens when you listen to what someone says is a good idea about how to live your life. This is a representative of the proto-states, which are the world religions, organized religions, and he's also obeying to the rules of the current system to make sure that this baby is safe when he's inducted into this institution of having imaginary friends. I hope these words provide you with some new ammunition when debating no-coiners about Bitcoin's energy use. The problems created by the fiat system are immeasurable. And the benefits of accepting this new reality are equally immeasurable, as we're figuring out here, because it's fucking awesome to be in a room full of Bitcoiners. And also the benefits of becoming a fully fledged Bitcoiner and consensualist comes with a lot of perks. You can't fight poverty by fighting prosperity. Neither can you achieve world peace by force. You can't fuck for virginity is another way to put it. And this is what Bitcoin is ultimately about. In summary, Oppenheimer was right in thinking that changing people's incentives by harnessing the power of physics was the best way to achieve peace in the world. The crucial thing he left out of the argument was his own fucking incentives. He couldn't see the bag of shitcoins dangled before his eyes for what they truly were. Bait. Science propels humanity forward, and powerful discoveries can have devastating effects in the hands of the wrong people. What Nakamoto discovered was a way to remove those hands of the bad people forever. Bitcoin is peace. Thank you. Now take up your phones and subscribe to the Freedom from Print show, please. Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. Questions? See you about questions? Oh yeah, questions. Well, time for questions?
Yeah.
We're only about an hour after schedule, so...
Any questions?
I'd still a time.
It's done in that one. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Knut.
Testing that we don't set of it is to the cat as 20 against our point that even military gun and the police and data.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it was. I like these kind of words. What are you thinking?